My girlfriend said, "I need space to think. I'm going to LA for a while. This is about my mental health. Don't be selfish." The day before my sister's engagement party that she'd promised to attend, I simply replied, "I understand." Then I quietly moved out of our shared apartment and stopped covering my 75% of the rent and expenses. She's now desperately calling everyone we know, asking how to reach me after being forced to move back in with her parents following a failed attempt to rekindle things with her ex. I'm Marcus Thompson, 27, and until 3 months ago, I thought I understood what love looked like. I believed it meant being the reliable one, the planner, the person who held things together while your partner figured themselves out. I was an IT specialist at a mid-sized consulting firm, steady income, steady temperament, steady everything. Jenna Walsh was my opposite, spontaneous, social, always chasing the next experience or adventure. For 18 months, I'd convinced myself that our differences created perfect balance. She worked in PR for a trendy marketing agency, spent her evenings at industry events and weekend brunches with her extensive social circle. I managed our shared apartment, handled bills, planned our vacations, and provided the stable foundation that allowed her to live spontaneously. Looking back, I can see how gradually I'd become more of a service provider than a partner. When Jenna decided she wanted to try that new restaurant everyone was talking about, I made the reservations and paid the bill. When she got excited about weekend trips to wine country or music festivals, I handled the logistics and covered most of the costs. When she wanted to switch apartments to be closer to her work scene, I researched options, coordinated viewings, and managed the move. I told myself I was being supportive. Jenna had bigger social needs than I did, more expensive tastes, a lifestyle that required flexibility I was happy to provide. My salary was higher than hers, so it made sense that I'd cover a larger share of our expenses. She contributed what she could when she could, and I filled in the gaps without keeping score. But somewhere along the way, I'd become less of a boyfriend and more of a life manager who happened to share her bed. Jenna made decisions about her time, her priorities, her interests, and I accommodated those decisions. She assumed I'd be there to handle whatever needed handling, fund whatever needed funding, and support whatever direction she wanted to explore. The pattern had established itself so gradually that I barely noticed how one-sided everything had become. I was the relationship coordinator by default, researching restaurants, booking weekend trips, remembering anniversaries, handling logistics. When we moved in together after 8 months, I naturally took care of finding the apartment, coordinating movers, setting up utilities. The first serious crack in my willingness to accommodate appeared 2 months before she decided she needed space. My company had offered me a significant promotion that would require relocating to Seattle for 6 months to oversee a major system implementation. It was the kind of career opportunity I'd been working toward for years. When I told Jenna about the offer, her response was immediate and definitive. "You can't be serious. I just got promoted to senior account coordinator. My whole career is here, my friends are here, my entire life is here. You expect me to drop everything and follow you to Seattle?" I suggested we could try long distance for 6 months, or that she could explore remote work options, or even take it as an opportunity for her own adventure. But Jenna was adamant that my career advancement couldn't be allowed to disrupt the life she'd built in LA. "This feels really selfish, Marcus," she said. "You know how hard I've worked to build my network here. You're basically asking me to sacrifice my career for yours." I withdrew the application that week. My manager was disappointed but understanding, and I convinced myself I was making the right choice for our relationship. But something had shifted in how I saw our dynamic. When faced with a choice between supporting my career advancement and maintaining her comfort zone, Jenna hadn't even considered compromise. The second crack came a month later during my sister Emma's engagement announcement. Emma and I had always been close despite living in different cities, and she was thrilled to share her news. The engagement party was planned for a Saturday evening in Phoenix, where Emma lived with her fiancé, David. It would be the first time in 2 years that our extended family would be together. Jenna had met my family several times and gotten along well with everyone, particularly Emma. When I mentioned the engagement party date, Jenna immediately put it on her calendar and started talking about what she'd wear, what gift we should bring, how nice it would be to see everyone again. I booked our flights and made weekend arrangements, relieved that this would be a stress-free, happy family celebration. Then, the Thursday before our Saturday flight, Jenna brought up LA. "I've been thinking," she said over dinner at our kitchen table, "and I'm feeling really stuck lately. Like personally stuck. I think I need some space to figure things out." I set down my fork, sensing this wasn't casual observation. "What kind of space?" "I think I need to go away for a while, like actually away. I've been feeling suffocated by our routine, by always doing the same things with the same people. I need to remember who I am when I'm not half of a couple." My stomach dropped. "Jenna, we're supposed to fly to Phoenix on Saturday. Emma's engagement party, you promised you'd be there." She waved her hand dismissively. "That's exactly what I mean. Everything is always about obligations, about what we're supposed to do. I need to prioritize my mental health right now." "Your mental health requires abandoning me at my sister's engagement party." "Don't be dramatic, Marcus, and don't be selfish. This isn't about you or your sister, this is about me needing space to grow as a person. I've already looked into flights to LA. I can stay with my college friend Maya for a few weeks while I figure things out." The word "already" hit me like a physical blow. "You already looked into flights?" "Before talking to me about this." "I knew you'd try to talk me out of it," she said defensively. "You always want to keep everything the same, maintain the status quo. But I need change, Marcus. I need adventure. I need to feel alive again." That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Jenna slept peacefully beside me, apparently unburdened by the bomb she'd just dropped on our relationship and my family obligations. I tried to process what had just happened. Not only was she abandoning our commitment to my sister, but she'd made unilateral decisions about our relationship's future and my weekend plans. The next morning, I found her flight confirmation in her email when she left her laptop open. She'd booked the ticket 3 days earlier before our conversation. She hadn't been asking for my understanding, she'd been informing me of a decision she'd already made. When I confronted her about it, she became defensive and then angry. "This is exactly why I need space. You're being controlling and invasive. Checking my email, that's toxic behavior, Marcus. You made a major relationship decision and booked travel without discussing it with me. Then you presented it as spontaneous soul searching when you'd actually been planning it for days." "I knew you'd react like this," she said coldly. "You can't handle when I need independence. You want to control my choices and keep me trapped in your little routine." That afternoon, Jenna left for LA with a single suitcase and a promise to call me in a few days once she'd had time to think. I canceled her flight to Phoenix, called Emma to explain that I'd be coming alone, and spent that evening staring at our suddenly empty apartment. The engagement party was beautiful but painful. Emma was radiant, David was clearly besotted, and the whole family was celebrating new beginnings and future happiness. Everyone asked about Jenna, and I found myself making increasingly uncomfortable excuses about work emergencies and prior commitments. My Aunt Patricia pulled me aside during the reception. "Sweetheart, is everything okay? You seem distant tonight." "Just some relationship stuff," I said, not wanting to elaborate during Emma's celebration. "Well," Patricia said gently, "I've watched you with Jenna at family gatherings. You're always taking care of everyone and everything. Make sure someone's taking care of you too." That comment stayed with me through the weekend. When had I become the person who always took care of everyone and everything? When had I started accepting crumbs of consideration from someone who was supposed to be my partner? The answer came from an unexpected source. Claire Martinez, who worked in Jenna's PR agency and had become a casual friend over the months, texted me the Monday after I returned from Phoenix. "Hey Marcus, how was your sister's engagement party? Jenna mentioned you guys had something important this weekend." I was surprised Jenna had mentioned it to anyone, given her last-minute abandonment. "It was great," I replied, though I ended up going alone. Jenna decided she needed some time in LA to think things through. Claire's response took a few minutes to come through, and when it did, it changed everything. "Oh, that's interesting timing. She mentioned she wanted to reconnect with her ex Tyler while she was there. Something about unfinished business and wondering what if." I probably shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. Unfinished business. What if the space Jenna needed to figure herself out apparently involved exploring whether her ex-boyfriend was a better option than me? Claire texted again, "Marcus, I'm really sorry, I thought you knew. Jenna talks about you like you're Well, like you're the safe choice. The backup plan, I've always thought you deserved better than that. The backup plan, the safe choice. Suddenly everything about our relationship made perfect sense. I wasn't Jenna's partner, I was her security blanket. I provided stability and financial support while she kept her options open and explored what else might be available. That evening, I made a decision that felt simultaneously terrifying and liberating. I was done being anyone's backup plan. Over the next week, I quietly began extracting myself from the life Jenna and I had built together. I found a smaller apartment across town, gave notice on our shared lease, and began transferring my belongings during the day while she was presumably exploring her unfinished business in LA. I didn't want drama or confrontation. I wanted clarity and self-respect. Jenna had made her choice when she booked that flight without discussing it with me. She'd made her choice when she prioritized exploring her ex-relationship over supporting me at my sister's engagement party. My choice was to stop waiting around to see if I'd ultimately be selected as her final option. The conversations with Claire became more frequent during that week. She'd check in to see how I was handling everything, and I found myself appreciating her directness and genuine concern. Unlike Jenna, who spoke in hints and implications, Claire communicated clearly and honestly. I've watched Jenna treat relationships like shopping, Claire told me during a coffee meeting that Thursday. She keeps browsing to see if there's something better available, but she wants to keep her current option on hold just in case. It's not fair to anyone involved. I feel like such an idiot for not seeing it sooner, I admitted. You're not an idiot, you're loyal and caring. Those are good qualities, but some people exploit them instead of appreciating them. By the following Friday, exactly 1 week after Jenna had left for her soul-searching adventure, I had completely moved out of our shared apartment. I left the keys on the kitchen counter along with a simple note. Jenna, I've moved out and won't be renewing the lease here. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for in LA. I've realized I deserve someone who chooses me consistently, not someone who needs to explore other options to appreciate what they have. Take care. Marcus. I also stopped the automatic transfers that had been covering my 75% of the rent, utilities, and shared expenses. Jenna would return to discover not only that I was gone, but that she was responsible for the full cost of the lifestyle she'd taken for granted. The freedom I felt in my new apartment was immediate and profound. For the first time in 18 months, every decision about my living space, my schedule, and my priorities was entirely my own. I enrolled in a photography class I'd always wanted to take, started going to the gym regularly, and began spending more time with friends I'd neglected while accommodating Jenna's social calendar. Claire and I continued meeting for coffee, and our conversations gradually shifted from processing my breakup to discovering shared interests and values. She was intelligent, straightforward, and seemed genuinely interested in building something mutual rather than extracting support from someone else's stability. 3 weeks after I'd moved out, my phone exploded with messages from Jenna. She'd returned from LA to discover an empty apartment, an unpaid lease, and the reality that her backup plan was no longer available. Marcus, what the hell? You can't just disappear without talking to me. I'm back from LA and you're gone. This is insane. Call me immediately, we need to work this out. I know I messed up, but this is really extreme. Can we please talk? I didn't respond to any of them. There was nothing left to discuss. Jenna had spent 3 weeks exploring whether her ex-boyfriend was a better option than me. The answer to that question was no longer my concern. Through mutual friends, I learned that Jenna's LA adventure had not gone as planned. Tyler, her ex-boyfriend, was apparently happy to reconnect physically, but had no interest in resuming a serious relationship. He was seeing multiple people and made it clear that Jenna was just one option among many. Meanwhile, Jenna discovered that without my financial contribution, she couldn't afford the apartment we'd shared or the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to. Her PR job covered her personal expenses, but not the elevated cost of living she'd enjoyed while I handled the major bills. Within a month of returning from LA, Jenna was forced to move back in with her parents in Orange County. Her social media presence shifted from glamorous city life to awkward family dinner photos and complaints about suburban boredom. Claire, who still worked with Jenna, told me about the increasingly desperate attempts to rebuild her previous lifestyle. She keeps asking people if they know how to reach you. She's telling everyone that she made a mistake and just needs to explain herself. Some mistakes can't be explained away, I replied. She didn't accidentally book a flight to explore things with her ex. She didn't accidentally abandon me at my sister's engagement party. Those were choices that revealed her actual priorities. 4 months after I'd stopped being Jenna's backup plan, she found my new address somehow and showed up at my apartment on a Saturday morning. She looked smaller than I remembered, less polished, more desperate. "Marcus, please just give me 5 minutes," she said when I answered the door. "I know I screwed up. The thing with Tyler was nothing, just closure. I realized no one will ever care about me the way you did. Can we please try again?" I looked at her and felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction at her apparent distress, not temptation to resume our old dynamic. Just a calm recognition that this chapter was completely closed. "I hope you figure out what you're really looking for," I said honestly, "but I'm not interested in being someone's safety net while they explore other options." "But we were good together," she insisted. "We had so much history, so many good times. I promise I'll be different this time." "The good times happened when I was doing all the emotional and financial labor," I said gently. "That wasn't a relationship, that was me providing services while you decided whether you wanted to commit to me or keep exploring other possibilities." She started crying then. "I know I took you for granted, I know I hurt you, but people make mistakes, Marcus. Don't you believe in second chances?" "I believe in learning from experience," I replied. "You taught me that I deserve someone who chooses me consistently, not someone who needs crisis and consequences to realize my value." I wished her well and closed the door. She didn't try to contact me again after that. 6 months later, Claire and I officially began dating, though our relationship had been building naturally through shared interests, mutual respect, and genuine compatibility. The difference between our dynamic and what I'd had with Jenna was striking. We split responsibilities based on preference and availability. We both invested in planning and maintaining our relationship. Neither of us had to constantly prove our worth or compete with other options. A year later, when Emma got married, Claire was my date to the wedding. She fit seamlessly into my family, contributed to conversations, and seemed genuinely happy to be part of the celebration. During the reception, Emma pulled me aside. "I really like Claire," she said. "She seems like she actually wants to be here with you, not like she's doing you a favor by showing up." That observation perfectly captured the difference between a partner and someone who sees you as a convenience. I occasionally wonder if Jenna learned anything from our relationship's end. I hope she did, for her own sake and for anyone who might love her in the future. But whether she changed or not is no longer my concern. The day I stopped being someone's backup plan was the day I started living according to my actual worth. Some people will always see accommodation as weakness and reliability as something to exploit. Learning to identify those people early and having enough self-respect to walk away when they reveal themselves is perhaps the most valuable skill anyone can develop. The most profound relationships are built by two people who both show up consistently, who both prioritize each other's well-being, who both understand that love is demonstrated through choices over time rather than promised through words after disappointment. I stopped waiting for someone to choose me, and in doing so, I chose myself. That choice led me to someone who chooses me daily, just as I choose her. The difference is life-changing. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop being someone's safety net and start living like you know your own worth.